27%. Any guesses what that number means? Is it the number of people in the US that listen to podcasts? Actually, that number is 24%. Well, in 2017, that number has increased exponentially up to 64% in March of 2023. Podcasting continues to be on the rise. It is the place to be. Only 27% of podcasts are hosted by women. Only 27%. Are you as shocked as I was? Just think of all the voices we are missing. Is your voice one of those? Is there a topic you keep thinking about? A message you know needs to be shared? Guests you know you want to interview? Or maybe you're an entrepreneur and you know that you want to help others get to know you better and know what you do. Podcasting is the way to do it. This is why I founded Authentic Connections Network. A podcast network that is so much more than you'd imagine. We take the tech and stress out of podcasting. We give you the power of a network, the power of community, of education around podcasting, of coaching, individualized supports, and all the other incredible women breaking through and changing the landscape of podcasting. Isn't it time you realize your dream? We believe strongly in our creators. We believe in Ella Shawn and in Black Writers Therapy. There are conversations that need to happen, stories that need to be told. Authentic Connection Network is the place for them. Follow us on Instagram at 37by27. Comment the word amplify on any of our posts or DM it if that feels better to you. I want to learn more about you and your goals and how maybe you could be part of Authentic Connections.
Welcome to Black Writer Therapy, a podcast where Black women writers are invited to sit on the proverbial couch, have a cup of tea, and share the stories behind the stories, and what it really takes to write books about Black women in an industry that still prefers white as the default. I'm your host, published author and unlicensed therapist, Ella Shawn. Black Writer Therapy is now in session.
Synithia Williams has loved romance novels since reading her first one at the age of 13. It was only natural that she would one day write her own romance. When she isn't writing, Synithia works in the Midlands of South Carolina and enjoys spending time with her supportive husband and 2 sons. You can learn more about Synithia by visiting her website, synithiawilliams.com.
Hi, thank you so much for being on the show, Miss Synithia Williams. It is quite an honor to have you, and I am excited to get into this chat we're getting ready to have.
Thank you so much, Ella. I appreciate the invite. I'm looking forward to the chat. It's always great to connect with other writers, especially finding out that you're not too far from me. So that's even better.
Exactly. And this show is dedicated to Black women writers only.
Awesome.
And exactly. I do that because you know what? I can. And
there you go.
I do it because I can. So I love to ask this question for all of my writers when I get them on, and because I don't think people ask it at all or enough. So, Synithia, how are you healing today?
Today I'm feeling pretty good. It's
healing.
been
See, that's
healing.
The thing. Yes. How are you
listening.
healing today?
Listening is key. I'm healing. I actually took a nap before this, so I think I'm healing very well.
You're
that
healing
I
better than me.
took the time because it's been a hectic couple of weeks, and so I was trying to do too many things today, and then I finally just said no to one. I felt bad that I had to say no to the thing, and I was thinking up excuses, and then I said, why make an excuse? This is a friend of mine. I legitimately cannot do the thing today. So I just text her, like, I got to get my life together. I have something at 3. I've got something else later. I knew I had to catch up on writing. So I think that's definitely a part of my healing, the fact that I'm just being honest and saying no to the things that I can't do, and listening to the fact that if I need to take a break before I do something, take the break.
That, my friend, is a lesson we all need to learn. And we usually learn it the hard way.
Yeah. And it's funny how it still feels awkward to just say no sometimes, but it's very healing to just go ahead and tell the truth instead of trying to come up with an excuse or trying to force yourself into doing something that you won't be able to do. So yeah, it gets a lot more it gets easier as the more I practice saying no.
Yes, it will. Because
Yeah,
no is my favorite word.
there you go.
No. And sometimes say, hell no.
There you
I
go.
can't. I can't do it. Sorry.
I can't do it. Yeah.
Why? I don't want to. When you get to that point where you could be like 100% transparent, why go through that? Now I'm just like, hey, this is what it is. Do you want to go?
Exactly.
How much is the cost? Oh, nope, I can't go. I don't have no money. I
Right.
just did what I did. And that is not just healing for like my spiritual self and my well-being. It's healing for my finances. It's healing for my relationships. It's like that's one of the things I think people don't think about as a
Mhm.
healing tool. Just tell the damn truth. Tell your truth.
So much easier to just do it. And I don't know, I guess it's the fear of hurting someone's feelings or trying to let them down easy, but the lie hurts worse. You know,
Hmm.
if I would have lied about the reason why I couldn't do the event today, um, and then it comes out later,
Hmm.
then that hurts my friend more than me just being upfront and saying, I just don't have the bandwidth. I just can't today.
Yeah,
And
but
there's nothing wrong with my reasoning. It's the truth. It just is what it is. I couldn't do it. So yeah, I think that's so today I'm healing very well.
good.
And being
And
able
I
to do
promise
that.
you, you will like get to the point, Synithia, where you say no and you don't even think about it. You don't
Yeah.
think about coming up with an excuse. You don't think about if you've hurt someone's feelings. You don't think about any of that because at the end of the day, you can only hurt what is allowed to be hurt,
Mm,
and that's not your bag to carry.
right. Very true.
So I'm happy you're healing in that way today, and we're going to encourage more people to heal in the truth. All
Very,
right,
very
I'm
good.
I'm going to borrow that. Okay, it's probably going to become a sticker. Heal in the truth, inspired by Synithia Williams, because that's a great way to heal.
That is a great way to heal. And I love stickers. So I
Oh,
encourage you to do that. That's awesome. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be a part of your first season. Hopefully, it's the first of many, many more to come.
I feel so. I feel so. So I like to go into this next segment with just a little definition.
Mhm.
It's called intentional writing, and I use the medical definition of that word, which means the healing process of a wound. Because I'm a firm believer that I don't care what Black women are writing, if they're writing it on a sticky note, there's healing in it because I think that's just our nature. Those of us who write, there's always a balm in there.
Mhm.
Like I read your book and I have so many notes, and there's just one part that's in there, and I am just like stewing in my juices, mad, okay? So mad. And I'm just like, why did you do that to her? Why?
Which book is it? Oh my gosh.
Okay, so I asked you, what's the most cathartic book you've ever written? And you said Careless
Careless
Whisper.
Whispers. Yes. Yes.
I love the title, by the way. I absolutely love the cover. It is so pretty. And then this is book three.
Yes.
You know what I love about it?
What's that?
Them. That's what I love about it. All
Mhm.
that chocolate.
Yes.
And here's the beautiful thing about this book and them, right? She is not extra anything. He is not extra anything. These are normal people I could walk on the street and see them.
Mhm.
So there's nothing intimidating about him if a man picked up this book and wanted to read it. And
Correct.
there's nothing intimidating about her if when a woman picks it up and you're like, oh, she's a pretty girl.
Yes.
He's a good looking dude. And that's all you say. You don't say all the crazy stuff you see on most romance. Look, I'll tell you the God's honest truth. I didn't know Black women were still writing.
We're out
I
there.
I know that's crazy,
Yep.
right? And then sometimes I feel crazy saying it, but honest over here. I had no idea Black women were still putting, and when I say Black women were still writing, I mean writing stuff that I vibe with,
Mm,
because I saw what was in the bookstores, and I
yes.
saw what's being pushed, you know, through the machine, but I didn't see the stuff like that I fell in love with back in the 90s,
Yeah.
or you know what I'm saying?
I
Like
know
that,
exactly what you're saying.
like
Yeah,
Black women's fiction. I just want to read about normal normal Black folk doing normal things, or abnormal Black folks doing abnormal things.
that
But
part.
exactly, but no, I did not. I could not.
Yeah, we're out
So
here, and the machine doesn't push us. The bookstores don't push us, but we're out here. And once you find us, we are happy to connect you to others because we want all of us, at least me and the circle I'm surrounded with, we all want
yeah,
others to shine because just it's not competition. We're all
that's the
trying to do
thing.
the same thing, and you're not going to stop reading another author's book just because you found my book.
No,
Now you just have two authors or more that you can read.
exactly, and that's the thing. I don't. I never.
Yeah, it's the reason why I kind of it's why I started writing. Sorry if I'm jumping ahead or what.
No, go ahead. It's we're in the
Yeah,
we're
we're
in
in it.
the
We're in it.
intentional writing. That's right.
Yeah, we're in it. It's one of the reasons why I started because I've been reading since, gosh, I've boxcar children or whatever in school and started reading romances in like when I was 13
Me too.
years old. Yeah, I loved
Me
them.
too.
Still do. Obviously,
Me
I write them.
too.
But so I'm that cliche. I started writing at 13 and one day knew. But it's kind of like what you said. In college, I was able to find like the 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 Eric Jerome Dickies or the Toni Morrisons and all that. I was
Right,
reading
right.
that, but when I would go for the romance, it was hard for me to find. I'm not saying they weren't out there because they were. I'm definitely not the first, and God hope I won't be the last,
Mhm.
but I could not find them. And so my romance reading was mostly historicals because I didn't want to read contemporary because
Right,
they didn't look like me. They
right.
weren't doing the stuff that I do. They weren't doing like the life that I live.
Mhm.
And then when um some I found some interracial romances, which are great because it's a black female, but then I'm not in an interracial relationship.
Right.
All of my friends are black couples, and I just wanted to write what I was seeing and what was
Mhm.
around me.
Yep.
Not because I thought no one else is doing this, but it's just like I just want to write my story. And then if I did find them, a lot of times they're set in New York or Atlanta, big city. I'm
Yep.
a country girl from, South Carolina, and so I
Yes.
wanted to write that. Um, and so when I first started, I would just say it was like spicy Southern romance because that was my thing to let people know I'm not a New Yorker. I'm not a,
Uh-uh.
a big city girl. I'm not writing big city stories. They may go to a big city or maybe set in a
But
big
they
city that
coming
I
back
visited, but they're
home.
coming back. Yeah. The majority of my books, I've written over 25 romance women's fiction
Oh
novels.
my God.
Yeah, and
What? Wait,
I've
no,
written a lot.
you're not just gonna say that and then go back to, and I always come back home. No, ma'am. You've written over 25
Yes.
in how many, like what? How what's the time frame here? Because I am like freaking out.
My first book was published in 2012. So it's been 11 years.
11 years. In
Yes.
11 years, you've written
In 11
25.
years.
You've written
Yes.
in 11 years, you've written
I
25
have.
books.
The journey to be here, and I still feel like brand new sometimes, and people like Sneaky, you've been around for long enough to quit saying you're brand new. But
You really, so don't.
it just
Don't.
the publishing changes, the what I want to write, my style changes, so I think that's
Hmm.
what makes it always feel new.
And
But
that's a good thing,
it's
really.
what I love is to be able to keep writing stories that are, and I've said it before, if anybody's ever pulls up one of my old interviews or pulls up anything I may have done in the past, I just want to write stories that reflect people that you like, exactly what you said, Ella, people who you might run into in the street.
Yeah.
somebody that you may see in your family. I don't like perfect characters. Now I just say I write sexy, messy, emotional because it's life. Life is sexy, messy, and emotional.
Girls.
Um,
Oh, oh, you are
always.
killing it with the stickers here. Let me write this down. This is going to be your line.
I
Synithia Williams line.
sexy, messy, emotional. Yes.
Oh
I
my God.
that's what I do now because life is all of that. And I just wanted to write, they may not be perfect characters, but I want you to at least relate to it. If you don't agree with the decisions they made, I don't expect people to agree with the decisions of all my characters, but I would like that at least when I've written it, you understand how they got to that decision. Even if you would make a completely different decision. And I've
Yeah.
had readers tell me that, like, oh, I hated that she did that, or I hated that they did this, and but you kept reading though. So that's what I want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. 25. That's right. I'm just going to say congratulations.
Thank you.
Uh, that is insane to my brain. I'm only 5 years in, and as like really taking this serious, and pulled out a red, I don't know, file folder,
Mhm.
and it's so thick. I was like, what is that? Papers are yellow, and I'm just looking at it, and pen color changes throughout. And I said, oh my God, this is the first novel I ever wrote.
Oh, that's fantastic. Keep it.
It's
Keep it.
so scary. I don't even want to read it. Yes, but it's crazy. So I'm looking at this and I'm just like, and I thought I was doing something. Like I was seriously up in the
Mm,
cafes, and it was like I was in college.
I have, it's across the room. I have a three-ring binder. It has the two handwritten novels that I did in high school, mostly in math class because I hated math.
True.
Um, I do not want to read them. I know that they are bananas because it was Synithia. Um, but I'm so happy when I found them. Like, oh, I still have these. And I just remember in high school writing a page, and a classmate would be like snatching the page up as soon as I finished it so that they could read the page. And
Yes.
so it's like I couldn't handwrite it fast enough. And gosh, I wish like 17, 18-year-old Synithia would have really believed in her writing process back then.
Oh, girl.
I thought it was just okay, oh, it's just a fluke, oh, it's just a friend, oh, but as now 43-year-old Synithia can look back and like, hey girl, that was proof that there was an audience for the stories that you
Yeah.
wanted to tell.
Anywho,
Mhm.
I am, I just remember like falling in love with the idea of storytelling. And I changed my focus in my English program from literature to writing. So, people say, "What are your one your one regret?" That's my one regret is not getting the MFA because I am too long in the tooth and too short in the thoughts to go.
I wouldn't even try. My undergrad is biology, right? Like science stuff. I
Biology.
question myself all the time. Like, what was I thinking in these class? I was a science nerd. I'm still like geeking out because Shark Week is coming up soon, this summer. So
Girl.
I'm still that girl. And I went into, I thought I wanted to go to medical school, did not. Ended up doing environmental work, ended up working in government, got my master's in public administration. And so
Mhm.
my day job is completely government, non-creative
Right.
kind of thing. And when people find out that I'm a romance writer, because I don't hide it, I used to be, I never hid it now that I think about it. Because I'm not, when I was younger, I would read romances. I want to hide the cover or something like that because people like, romance,
Yes.
kind of thing. Um, but I never kind of hid that I wrote romance. Synithia Williams is my name. I did not come up with a pen name because I also
Mhm.
didn't think I would write 25 books later and somebody like you, Ella, would ask me to be on the podcast. I just kind of, like you said, I got serious about my writing one day and said I wanted to do this, and I
Mhm.
did. And so when people find out that I work this full-time job, that I'm, married, got two kids who are now teenagers, they were young when I started, but people like, how do you do it? And they can't believe like I do this kind of type A personality stuff in my day job, and then I go over here and I write these stories about relationships and romance. And it's like that is kind of part of my healing too, is that I get to tell those stories and my kids see mommy living her truth. My husband goes with me to writing events and he sees me interacting with writers, readers, and he's like, keep doing it. My family sees it. My colleagues have been nothing but supportive whenever they find out
Mhm.
that I write and they think it's amazing. So that's been good for me. And even when I get the few randos who are like, romance, huh, 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 huh.
Uh-huh.
What about it? Are you not married? Are you not in a relationship? How did you and your partner meet?
Right.
That is a romance. Whether so life needs romance. And so romance novels are not just about the sex. Yeah, that's fun and it's great when they're in the books, if that's your wheelhouse. But romance is so much more than that.
And
And
that's what I hate about
yes.
when people have this conception. Because I, for a long time, thought I was going to write romance. In fact, I thought I was writing romance because my books and my stories tend to center around relationships.
Hmm.
But then I realized I don't really care about the happily ever after.
Mm.
And according to Romance
Spiders
Writers
of
of
America.
America,
Yeah.
um, your romance isn't a romance if there is no happily ever after or happily ever after for now.
Hmm.
And I realized I don't care about that. I don't care at all.
You like the
Um,
romantic elements, but you're telling the relationship story.
yes, and mostly not even the relationship story, but the journey that both people or for the 5 or 6 people, depending if it's polyamorous, who knows, are
Hmm.
taking in this relationship. And so mostly I'm concerned with my characters,
Gotcha. And
you
I
know?
I love the happy. I am the person, right? Do not take me to this movie or make me watch this show where I'm invested in these two people and somebody dies at the end or whatnot. I'm going to throw something at the TV. Life is sad enough already. I just watched the news. I do not need the sadness at the end. So,
Oh my God. Synithia, are we related?
so I think that's why I need the happy forever and happy for now because life is sad, yo. Like there's bad stuff happening. I need a good story and I need to smile at the end. I like that sigh. And sometimes I write romance, but I don't read a lot of contemporary, especially when I'm writing, because I don't want
Right,
it to bleed in and
exactly.
influence me. So I switch to other genres. And so I get my, healthy dose of reality and sad. But then it's like, all right, now let me get back over here and get one of these
These
have
happy
books
go
that make me
lucky
feel better.
books.
Yeah. Like, let me
But
see
it's
some of
not
that.
right. Your books, this book, and so now that I read this book, I hate people who say, "Yeah, come on my show." I don't hate them. I hate what they do. Come on my show. Let's talk
Mm,
about your book, but they don't read your book. They read the back of the book. No,
yeah,
no. If
yeah.
you're going to say yes and dedicate some time to be with me, you can bet your bottom dollar I've read this book and marked it up in my Kindle. Um, and because I wouldn't want someone to do that to me.
I appreciate you taking the time to read the book as well.
Oh, it's really good. And I
Thank
was
you.
going to say to you, um, like I know you write romance, and there's that HEA at the end. However, your books, I would say that they're more women's fiction with romantic elements. And the
I've gotten
fact,
that.
yeah, the fact that you give the happily ever after at the end is a bonus. And but I this doesn't read like romance at all to me.
Oh wow. They have to fight to get to it sometimes because um so like in romance, and I know the focus is like on the couple, but one of the things that I think about when I'm writing a story and like even when I was writing this morning, in that story, it was like, I need to show this family dynamic and how this family dynamic plays into the character and how that will play out in their relationship moving forward. Because that does come into play. And so it's I feel like in my writing, I want to show that fleshed out how the family interacts, because that all comes out in your relationship.
It
Your
does. It does.
how you were raised, your thought patterns, your belief systems, all of that will come out in a relationship. And so again, you're not perfect. You're not the
And your
perfect
family
partner.
isn't perfect.
Exactly.
And so that's what I'm saying. And when I say it doesn't read like romance, I am not one of these romance hating folks. I will read anything. I really will. Historical romance, I love.
Mm.
Um, but I love contemporary romance. I write erotica. So I love dark romance. Like that's
Yes.
probably my wheelhouse. And
Hmm.
I like really, really dark romance.
Mm.
That's where I play, right? I try not to write the dark stuff. I always end up in the dark, but I always end up in the dark. But it comes out, you come into the light. Um, you have to go through that to get there. But when I say it doesn't read like romance, I'm going to quantify that with it doesn't read like mainstream uh formulaic
Mm.
romance.
Yeah.
And I find that the more Black romance writers that I read who actually write Black romance.
Yeah. Two Black characters, not Black and something else. You have, like I said, when I first was, trying to get back into writing and reading and looking at publishing, the first things that were pushed to me were the interracial romances, which
Mhm.
again, I have nothing against. There's nothing wrong with that, and I've read them and I read them, but it's still not the same as like the Black hero, the Black heroine, or our male or female, whatever the wheelhouse is. But it's not the same kind of story to me.
Uh-uh.
And I've never been in a interracial relationship, and so I want to show that Black people can be happy and that they can find a way
Oh,
to love. It's not always what you see on TV.
and I'm just like, what narrative are we sending out here, and what is it that you're trying to elicit?
I think it's the belief. There is that belief. So there's a guy who he's a colleague, and he found out I write romance and all that, and then he said, so what do you write? I was like, I write Black romance. And he was like, so there's no white men in your books? No. There's no white women? No. So there's no white people anywhere. I mean, yeah, they exist. Like there might be a friend, coworker, but no, he was like, wow. He was just legitimately shocked
Couldn't
that,
believe that he wasn't in a book.
right, over 20 books that I've written, that not one is a biracial man. There is, out of all my books, one, he is biracial. His dad's Black, his mom is white. Um, Love Me As I Am. And even the truth of a biracial Southern guy even kind of comes out in the book, the white side of his family, even, how they treat him.
Hmm.
But that's the closest I've gotten, right?
Yeah,
And he was floored. And I laugh about it. I just think it's amazing that you're surprised that I could write that many books and not have to say, gosh darn it,
let me throw a white person in
let me
there.
throw a
Let
white
me
person in
center
here.
whiteness here.
Yes.
It's
And I've
important.
had people say that, like, have you ever thought about writing, with a white guy? And I'm like, yeah, I've thought about it, but that book hasn't bubbled up in me yet. I will not say that never, never will I ever, because who knows? 5 years from now, that may be the character that fleshes up in me. But for right now, I just want to write, because we're not all the same. There's so many
Hmm.
different stories we can tell.
Yeah,
And I don't have to, and we go outside to write the stories. There are people who do that and who love to do it and who do it fantastically.
yeah,
So if that's what you want, that's your wheelhouse, go ahead. I don't fault you. But if you come over here, I like writing Black couples, and that's what I want to write. So you can be flabbergasted, you can be surprised, you can be, I can't believe you've never put, but you will be a side character. You can be the heroine's coworker slash coffee
right,
friend, but
right.
you will not be her love interest in the current books that I'm writing.
I love that you said all of that. I'm so serious because yeah, it's like the next segment, right? The audacity of Black writers. That's what we talk about, the publishing industry. But I haven't even thought about, in all honesty, how like just everyday people, and you say, oh yeah, I'm a writer, and they say, oh, what do you write? You tell them, and you're like, oh, do you? And he was bold, because most white folk aren't going to ask you that way. Like,
Oh, they're very comfortable asking me. It's just ridiculous to some, and maybe it's because I just work in government and whatever.
yeah,
But and
okay, and those are the ones you work with.
I have the faith, but it's just and I
I don't,
still laugh about it. Like
I don't
really,
have that face apparently, because I can,
yeah.
I can tell. Like, I was in Massachusetts at the end of May. My daughter graduated from Mount Holyoke, so we're sitting here.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. We were sitting waiting like for the graduation thing to start, and this couple sits beside us,
Hmm.
um, older, and so I, of course, like, yes, I'm a writer. And I carry my phone around where I carry a QR code so you can just click and get into all of my business. And she's like, you write Southern erotica? I said, yes. Oh my God, I love Southern fiction. So, and I love erotica. I'm glad you put it together. And it was really like surreal.
Hmm.
And she said, will I be able to relate to this? And
Yes,
I
you will.
said, I don't know, because I don't know what your lived experiences are. I mean, will I find people who look like me in the book? No. She was like, I don't know if I could read that. I said, then don't. What do you want me to say?
It's so weird.
Like,
Like, why do
what do
you
you want
treat
me to
us like
say?
we're so damn different? And that's again, that's why I write what I write because we live, we fall in love, we go through trauma, we heal, all the same stuff. We can watch mainstream white TV shows, movies, read the books. We never stop to say, "Oh, am I going to relate to the story because there's white people in it?"
Mm-mm.
But we get that so much with our stories.
And I don't understand it. That's part of the reason I started this podcast, because I was like, I want to know if other Black women writers, like, how are you all dealing with this kind of white centric, I mean, it's everywhere. Like, it's not just in publishing. And you all still like thrive, and you're doing the damn thing. And I'm like, how is this happening?
It's not easy.
But
And
we cannot talk about this
okay,
right
I'm
now.
sorry. We're going to
Oh my God, we
put
gotta,
a pin in that. Okay.
okay,
I go
Lord,
off on tangents. My bad.
you and me both, obviously. Okay, I'm gonna, let me hydrate.
Okay, yes.
We're back to intentional writing, and now we're going to discuss your book.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I believe so because
Because we were going into, boy, I can't, I'm like, shoot, forget intentional writing. I'm ready to get into
we can dive into you put the link to the book in the show notes or something.
yeah, really, I will not. I will not. I will not. God, but I'm jonesing to get there.
We'll make
That
this part quick. We'll do good with this. We'll do quick on this.
tell me, Cindy, why is
Mhm.
this your most cathartic book?
Um, so when I was writing, well, when I started the series, um, and because book one, for those who, aren't familiar, is the younger sister comes home and she realized she's still in love with her older sister's ex-husband, which I knew from the start that was going to have some people like torches and pitchforks. But book one worked out. Hey, I like star reviews, all that other kind of stuff. But I knew from the start I wanted to write Elena's story as well. Um, and it would have been easy to make Elena a bitch. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to curse or whatever.
It's fine. No, you're
Okay.
fine. Mhm.
It would have been easy to make Elena a bitch and everybody hate her so that everybody was cool with the baby sister and why her ex-husband would fall in love with the baby sister and all that jazz. But I felt like that would have been the easy way out.
Right.
And so with Elena, she has so much pressure on her
Hmm.
to be the head of the family. She's the oldest child. She's the one who's been groomed to take over the family business, and she's been heartbroken.
Mm.
You see through the book that she was young and reckless. She made a mistake, and that's why she ended up getting married. But it was also kind of forced upon
Yes,
her
yes.
to clean up her mess. Oh, you run around with this little boy who is not up to our standards and getting pregnant, and our family has status. Clean this up, get married, right? And so that's kind of how she ended up where she was. It was a clean this up, get married, and it was horrible, and it turned out and so I wanted to write the story of because we're the angry black woman, we're the bitch, but I wanted to write what does it really look like on the side of that angry black woman, so
I'm mad at you. Stop, stop. Wait a minute. So you,
hmm
a black woman writer,
hmm
said, I'm going to write a book using the angry black woman trope, but
but
then I'm going to show you where that comes from.
exactly because in book one, I don't think when people read book one, it's not that I got hate on Elena. It was more of they couldn't tell they didn't know if they really liked her. Elena's abrasive. She drinks heavily. She's, she's that person you see her coming, it's like, oh, here she comes.
Yes.
Right?
I felt like
Um,
that for a good bit of this book too.
yeah, it was oh, here she comes.
Yeah.
And what was amazing and what I loved was for readers who like started with book one and got to book three, when they finally got to Elena's story and saw her through one and two, because you see her a little softer in two, but not as much. But when they finally see behind it in three, most of the readers have said this is their favorite book in the series. And when
Mhm.
I was writing it, I was even thinking, oh, I hope y'all like her because she can be a bitch. She still says some stuff that, people may not like.
Still get on one every now and again.
Yeah, she
So
still goes off on a Elena self-destructive, whatever. But then that's also true. And even I'm trying to tell it without doing too much spoilers, even when she goes to try to process her own healing, through whether it's therapy or whatnot, Elena's not fully quote unquote healed at the end.
no.
Love has not saved Elena,
And
right?
thank you. Thank you for that. I
Right.
appreciate it.
Love has opened Elena up to a different thought process. Love has
Hmm.
opened Elena up to being vulnerable. Love has filled a part of her life that she didn't know she may have even wanted,
Hmm.
but it didn't heal her from her demons. Um, it it helped her be able to be more honest to communicate with her family members to try to heal those relationships a little bit, but Elena's still Elena. She's just found love and she's on a path to try to do better and acknowledge where she makes mistakes. And so that's kind of what I wanted, was to show, sometimes the strong black woman, the angry black woman, there's a lot of stuff behind that, and it was good to kind of write that story out. Those And it was hard to pick what's the most cathartic because I write other characters where it's like the female character is not perfect,
Right.
but I write that because I want to show that even if we are not perfect, there's maybe reasons behind that, and
Yeah.
that they're still deserving of love and respect and appreciation.
Yeah. You did such a beautiful job because again, I was not like into her at all. I was just like, what is really going on? But I can't find any of my notes because this is my day. This is my day. Please. Okay. Yeah. Like I'm looking at the scene where her dad had fired her.
Mm.
And oh, okay, before I even go on, what's up with daddy?
Oh, Grant is horrible.
I hate him. I'm
Yeah,
going to say hate so that it's not so, oh, I hate him. Why?
yeah.
Like, and I'm
Grant
gonna
is
tell you, these he pushed all my buttons.
oh gosh, and from throughout the whole series, he's a master of manipulation. So when the series is a ode to my love of soap operas. I was like, Black Victor Newman, right? Like,
Girl. Oh my God. Now I don't look at soap operas anymore, but back in the day I used to look at soap
yes.
operas, and that is so, you know what?
That's exactly what I was doing. And even, and maybe this is more in the audacity of Black writers, but I was, when I was thinking of this whole series, I was like, I want to write like a Black Dallas, like a Black Young and the Restless, like
Yes,
rich Black
yes,
people in the South,
yes.
messy, on a soap opera,
Secrets,
the baby sister
nonsense.
take her sister husband all the time, but you still watch soap opera. So I'm like,
Exactly.
I'm gonna put it in a book and I'm gonna make you understand the reasons why, even if you still don't like it, kind of thing. But that's what I wanted to write. Because I write good fathers, I write bad fathers, I write good mothers, I write bad mothers, and throughout my books or series. But Grant is a manipulative father, and
I loathe him, and
in
he brought up
his
stuff.
in his way, he thinks he is doing this for Elena's own good, not realizing the harm that he has inflicted on her in the past, and that this is just further inflicting harm upon her.
I
Which
feel
is,
like in some
yeah.
way, I feel like in some way, Grant knows, okay, my kid is not happy. My kid is not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
My kid is not whole. Like, and I think that he is not a stupid man.
No, he's
So
not.
he may be emotionally stunted, but not emotionally like underdeveloped. Well, that's stunted, isn't it? I don't know. I just feel like he knows and he realizes. I think he's justifying it by saying that, oh no, I'm doing this so that she can become X, Y, and Z. And blah 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 blah. I know what's best for her. Like this woman is a grown ass woman, like a whole grown ass woman.
And
I'm just like,
you've already manipulated her life when she was younger.
and
You would
made the
think,
child get married,
yeah,
because you bring that up. So like when you said the first book, I'm like, oh, okay. So we get all that backstory,
yeah.
like the backstory. The books 1 and 2 provide the backstory for this. And so talking about the all the things, the working parts.
Right, because when I write a series, I want them to be able to read standalone because everybody doesn't always start from the beginning and go through or whatnot. You
Mm-hmm.
might, pick up whatever book and start. So I want you to be able to stand alone, understand that story. But if you do read the whole series, there's connections. But I don't like to go back and like retell everything that happened in book one either
Right,
because
right.
I don't want to do all that. So, but yeah, it is that whole long history, and I had to explain that in book one to so people can understand why Elena and Travis got married in the first place. Anyway, but
So do you plan? Like, are you like a serious planner?
now I am,
Oh, really?
but
How do you do it?
still not as great as I want to be.
Oh my God, tell me. Because look at my face. I am a discovery writer.
It's
I am a discovery writer.
all right. So the series that I'm working on now, where book one comes out this August 2023 for future listeners of the
Oh,
podcast.
girl. Okay.
August 15th, 2023. Yeah. But for your like when you're on the air 5 years from now and the people are going back listening to this, I want them to,
I hear you.
that's me
So I
putting that
got you.
into existence for you too.
August 15th, 2023
2023. Yep.
is when the first book of Synithia's new
New
series
series, my
comes
Peachtree
out.
Cove. And
Oh, Peachtree Cove.
yeah, it's another fake Southern town that I made, but it's Southern Georgia. So when I started this series, and I'm working on book three in that series right now, I start off with the three because this one is like two friends and a cousin or something like that. I kind of know what I want to happen in each book. And I kind of will map it out. But my biggest thing with series is making sure I remember who are all these characters that I made up, right? Because
Right,
they may
right.
have different circles around them. And so I do kind of keep a sheet with all of the names of the characters, all the character locations. Then I transfer that, start using a plotter, a software that tells me all of that stuff so I can keep it all together on my computer.
Do you mind
Um,
sharing the software?
Plotter, Plotter,
Plotter.
I think Plotter. And I use that to create my outlines for my stories too. But what happens is writers know characters do whatever the hell they want to
Yeah.
sometimes. So I'll mess up and say, "Oh, this character has children in book two," and I'm writing book one, and then when I get to book two, I'm like, "They don't have kids. This don't make sense." So now I got to remember to go back and delete the kids from book one. That's where I mess up. It's like Synithia doesn't stick to her own damn script. Like I've mapped out this world, Synithia, and now you want to be like, "You don't want children, take them out," kind of
See, and
thing.
that is
But
my problem with, like, I cannot. I tried. I took a little tiny workshop and they were talking about beats and
hmm
scenes, and I was so confused. I had no idea
oh, I love
what
it.
they were talking about. And
I love
so,
it.
okay, good. You got 3 minutes. Educate me on beats and scenes.
So beats, the way I got beats from a book called Save the Cat, right? And it's like you have certain heartbeats, that's the word for that happen in a movie. So if you think about like your favorite movie, good versus evil fight, you have a certain flow that you meet the hero, like say Star Wars, you meet Luke Skywalker, you learn about, oh, help me, Luke, I need all this. So then he decides to go on the journey to help the princess, and then he meets this group of characters, and now he's in a new world.
Those
And
are your
then
heartbeats.
right, and then he fights the evil people, and then they win or lose, right? And it's like, and so now, and it was written for screenwriters, but a lot of novelists have adapted the same kind of heartbeat structure or the same kind of beat structure, and they have different variations on it, but it basically gives you, these are kind of the things that usually happen as you go through a story, almost like that climax rise in action stuff that they teach you
Yes.
in school. It's the same thing, but it's just broken down even further. And
Okay, because
so
it sounds a lot like the hero's journey that I used to
yes,
teach.
yeah,
And so, like, I'm like, I know that.
you put
I
them together. It's like you have the hero's journey, which focuses on the character development, and then the
and
Save
then
the
the
Cat plot is more like the plot.
plot structure.
So, what are the
Okay.
plot structures? And so I mash that together because I've sat through those hero's journey classes. It's like, what's the character's journey? But then also, it for me as a writer, it helps me with that whole middle. You know how you want the book to start and you know how you want it to end,
Yeah.
but it's that middle part, right? That helps me. Like, what are some things that need to kind of happen that can help me get to the end? So for
And
me, it helps me as a guidebook, but I
and
still
does
may
it
not
help with
follow it.
pacing?
I think it helps me with pacing.
Hmm.
Um, you can go as I've gone as far, and I've seen people use it. I don't use it anymore. Of if you have a book that's 50,000 words, what where should you be based off of your word count?
That's
Like
too much.
you can get that deep, and I'm like that
That's too
person,
much.
right? And so sometimes that helps, but then the other thing, and I have a book behind me called Story Trump Structure. Because the other thing too is to not get so caught up in that that you don't let the story just evolve either.
Right.
Um, and so it's finding that balance between
And
the two.
and see, I don't have a book that says that, but I have this thought in my head that says my character's story trumps structure.
Yeah.
Because I am character focused and I keep trying to figure out a way to plot, plan, do all the things that writers and workshops say this is going to make sure you're writing, you know, and you're pacing and all the things, all the arcs are where they need to be. And but my characters, they're like, this is how I want you to tell it, just like this. So I listen.
That's what the readers care about the characters. The reader may not care. The reader doesn't care if that in a 50,000 word book you haven't hit the climax of the story at 25,000 words. The reader don't care because they're invested in the character kind of
Yeah.
things. So that's why I say for me, especially because I'm on deadlines. Like I have to write on deadlines. I write on contract. I work. Um, I have to plot out the book ahead of time,
Hmm.
and I even will create plot boards, all of that, because my writing is very focused. It is very. I need to write a thousand words a day or 1,500 words today. Like and so I don't want to sit and think, well, what am I going to write about? because
Yeah.
then I'm wasting time. So if I have a plot board and it's like chapter 13, and I'm like, in chapter 13, I wanted to touch on this, I wanted to address this thing.
Okay.
Then I can break down, take a little time earlier in the day and say, all right, chapter 13, they go to an ice cream parlor, they talk about her past
Mhm.
and fight the evil villain, right? When I sit
Okay.
down to write, I already know what's going to happen, and I'm not wasting, in my mind, wasting time. Like, so what am I going to do next? No, this is what happens next. This is why it's important to the story. So when I set my timer for 15, 20 minutes and I do nothing but write, that's all I'm focused on.
Oh, okay. You know what? I like that. The
So,
efficiency of it, it
right, it helps me because I've tried pantsing, and I can pants my way halfway through a story.
yeah.
And then I'm like, nah, chick, you gotta plot out the rest of it. You need to know where you're going. And the characters may do something different. My stories never match
Hmm.
my outline.
Okay.
They may hit some of the high points, but for me, it just helps me stay on task.
Okay. You know what? I like that because if everything that I've heard about plotting and planning out your novels, it sounds like going to prison. It sounds like
I can understand that. Yeah.
putting my characters and their experiences and their voices in prison. And I was like, I cannot. I'm too pretty to go to prison. I can't do it.
Same. Yeah.
You know? And so, but the way, like you're saying, no, when you have a system in place, it's going to help you become more efficient.
Yeah.
And yes, yes. Now that I'm into because I have my hands in 15 different pots right now.
Yeah. It's the efficiency for me because and that's why even I will I always outline the scene before I write it. I have pieces of paper all over the house where I've been sitting watching TV, and I'm like, I know I got to write. I outline the scene. I can outline a scene and write the scene 30 minutes later, and it doesn't match what I outlined. The outline is just to say this needs to happen
Mm-hmm.
right now. But when I write it out, Elena's gonna say something different than what I wrote on this plot
She's
because
gonna come
Elena's
out
she's
slick
in
at
the
the mouth.
scene, right?
Yes.
And
She'll be
and
slick at the
right,
mouth.
she's gonna be slick at the mouth. And Grant's supposed to do this according to my outline, but Grant's gonna do what he wants to do anyway.
He's an
So what
asshole.
needs to happen
Look at
still
me.
happens, right?
My commentary, because he's an asshole.
Because he is. So that's how I view it. You know it needs to happen. They need to have this fight, and I
But
want it to happen this way, but when I put those two together, the fight gonna look completely different. So
so the
so don't feel like you're constrained to what you plotted or what you outlined. Just focus more on what's the outcome of this scene. I know they need to do this. They need to talk about this, or they need to hash this out, or they need to get it on. But when you start writing, the characters do what they do. So the main point still happens, but it may not. It'll happen the way it flows.
okay. So it's not so much the how of it, but the what.
Right.
This is what needs to happen. And how it
Yes.
happens, you can jot down some little hey, da 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 da, but how it happens really comes in with the writing.
Yep.
Synithia Williams, I give you the award for the best explanation of planning heartbeats and outlines and storyboards and all the cool things you talked about. Because honestly, um, I'm just like I'm not here for it. What you're not going to do is put my people in prison.
I
Let my people go.
completely,
Let my
I
people
completely
go.
understand. Yes. And I've never thought about I know that's how I do it, and so I've never really kind of explained it out. So thank you very much for letting me even flesh out how my process uses those tools, but I'm not married to
Yeah,
them.
yeah. I'm really big on metacognition, and because again, I taught for 14 years, and I'd always tell my kids, so ask your question. You don't know how you're going to answer it. Talk, think,
Yeah.
talk, think. Right. So tell me what you're thinking, because learning that process of how you think makes what you think, I guess, easier to process.
Right. That makes a lot of sense because I'm always like, I don't know how I can help other writers. Again, I feel like I'm just in the trenches, like I'm still new. But, you know, sometimes
But now
talking
you
out the
know.
process makes me know.
Now you
Yeah.
know how you can help other writers, because I'm telling you, like, that makes more sense. So you could have like a from pantser to plotter workshop, and
Break it down. Yeah. Here's all the tools.
yes,
I didn't create the tools. These are tools you can use, but make it your own.
yeah, yeah. I still come to it because this is the I put you on the spot version. So wink, wink, hint, hint, nod, nod. I'm looking forward to that workshop.
I will now have a sheet of paper outlining a workshop idea that I need to pitch to someone.
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you
I think
very
so.
much, Ella.
Anytime. Um. Okay. So what else did I want? Who else got some healing in this book for you? Who else? And so we know that Elena had like a manipulative father
Mm.
who basically controlled every aspect of her life and tried desperately to do so even into adulthood. And so what would you say she was healing from?
Um, she was definitely healing from beliefs that were instilled in her as a young adult, childhood and young adult beliefs. And she was healing from the need to be perfect. So she was trying to emulate her mother. And her mother is deceased, but her mother put her in like some pretty shitty situations too. Her mother was the one who said, um, because I love my husband and I'm sick and cannot be there for him, it's okay for him to have a
To have
mistress.
affairs.
Right. And never let love make you so weak and jealous that you miss the main point of what you're trying to achieve. And so Elena internalized that and thought love was a weakness. So it was overcoming but she also believed her mom was perfect. Her mom was the perfect businesswoman, the perfect hostess. Elena stepped into her mother's role of being the family hostess, of having the elaborate parties, of helping her father run the corporation. And if her mother did it and could do it, then she should be able to do it too. So
Right.
it was healing from that and realizing, which a lot of us have to do. We have these thought processes and these belief systems that have been put into our brains because we saw it growing up, and they may or may not necessarily be true. And again, that can come out to play in your relationships, not just romantic, but friendships or things like
Hmm.
that. And so it's recognizing when those belief systems are holding you back.
Okay.
And so she had to heal from that.
Okay. And I think if I only had one word to say to name Elena's wound,
Mm,
I would say expectation.
yes.
And when I think about expectations, I'm like, that can go both ways. And so I guess this is why this book kind of I resonated with, like, the family's expectations of her.
Yes.
Um, because like your family will either expect everything from you or nothing, right? You're either
Hmm.
going to be it all
Yes.
or you're going to be absolutely nothing, and you're going to make the family shame. And you don't have to come from a wealthy Black Southern family to have your family treat you this
Hmm.
way. And so I think the concept of healing from that, like that wound of expectation, and then you married that with the angry Black woman, and what is it? I think they called her hard
Yeah.
several times. That kind of hard, almost masculine exterior.
Yeah.
And
Unapproachable, not, you know, that I love the word expectation. Like they see her coming, it's like, oh, Elena's gonna give us a hard time. And Elena sees on their face
yes,
that they don't want to deal with me. And so she, instead of, hey, what's going on, trying to address, she just further hardens that outer shell.
because it's easier to be angry than it is to be hurt.
Yes.
I always used to tell my daughters that if you jump to anger immediately, I want you to count to 10, take some breath, and ask yourself, am I angry or did this person hurt my feelings?
Right. That's a good tip.
the expectations and the healing from that, and even healing from like just low expectations
Hmm.
from your family. I think that even having the low expectations will bring on that kind of superwoman mentality because you're so busy trying to prove to them that you would become something, you will accomplish. What was healed in you in this book? Did you tell me that already?
Um, it was, I think it's also some of the expectations, because that's why I said I really like that word. In me, it was writing a story, taking someone who's viewed, you know, bitchy or cold, and making them human.
Mm,
Um, because I put like none of the characters are me. Like I'm not that, but you put a little bit of like some of your thought processes or emotions or things you may have dealt with, and like you sprinkle them through different characters
mhm,
kind of thing. And so I think that was what was healed in me, the telling a story I was scared to tell, expecting people to probably hate it
mhm,
because she was not the typical perfect romance heroine,
mhm.
but saying I'm gonna do it anyway because this is my story.
Right.
So I'm not going to worry so much about the expectations or if people don't like it, because I want to write her story and I want
Right.
to do that. And then seeing that my that because people do like the story, the like I said, harking back to the whole 17, 18-year-old Synithia, there is a place for my stories out there. Because every time I think it's going to be a story people are going to hate, because I'm like, this ain't what people normally get.
Right.
I don't write like X person, or I don't write like these people. This is what I write. But when people still like it, it's like, Sneaky, there's a place for your story. So
Yeah. And
put
I think
put
that's
down
the
there.
most important part of healing. There's a place for you,
Yes.
and you are enough. What you produce is enough. And like, I don't want to call it validation because I don't think you need validation. Simply knowing that who you are and what you produce is enough.
There's
You don't have to
there's
be like
nothing wrong
anybody
with it.
else. Nothing.
Yes.
Nothing
It's
wrong with it. Don't be ashamed of it. Like it took me forever to be able to say, yes, I write Southern erotic women's fiction. I would not tell anyone that I wrote erotica. And that is why I have a pen name today, because I would not tell anyone. My daughters were, I was still teaching. Was I teaching? No, I was playing around. My daughters were still in school
mm,
here, right? In District 2. And I was like, I cannot have my name out there under erotica because my kids are in school and the people I worked with for 14 years are there. And there are a lot of my daughter calls them the Baptist black and bougie people that I used to be really
yeah.
close to. And so they wouldn't really get that. I don't know why, but anywho.
No, I completely know what you're talking about. And yeah, I get it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
it's dirty. I love dirty stuff. I love dirty talking. I don't curse very well, and like for me, I think I sound like kind of a white soccer mom, and so I don't curse really well, and I want to be able to do that because I love people who can curse really well, and it sounds like music. Like that's a
flows lyrically
skill.
off. Yeah.
Yes. Like I'm like, oh girl, you did that. I love it. I can't do it. Like, so, I stick to like small words. So yeah, you get lots of dirty words and all the things. My writing has changed and grown so much because I've changed and grown so much.
Yeah. It
So do
doesn't stay
you
the same. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, do you find that as you grow, like mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and all the ways that we grow and you have different experiences in life, like how does that peter into your writing?
Um, I see it in because I still love romance.
Mm-hmm.
The women's fiction was challenging for me, especially the second book, The Essence of Perfection.
Oh, I
Even
like
though it
that
has a
title.
romantic element in it, it was difficult to just it was something new, something different. But I did it, and readers loved it. And so it just made me want to further, you know, try different genres, do
Hmm.
something else. Because I was afraid to do it. I did it, and it turned out okay.
Isn't
Um,
that weird? Like the thing that scares you most, and then you do it, and you're like, "Wait, that wasn't." It was like, "Oh," but it wasn't like, "Oh."
yeah, and I forgot who first said it. I don't know where I first heard it, but use it now. Writing is hard because you want it to be good, and that's
Mhm.
what I realized when the books are really hard is because I'm trying extra hard to make the story good.
Yeah.
And so my writing has evolved over time because I really, my first couple books was just ideas had been popping around forever, and I just had to write them. And then my other books had to be a little bit more thought out, 'cause, contracts or whatnot. Um, but the emotional part is always the hardest part for me.
Mhm.
um, where my first draft is very heavy on dialogue, a little bit of what's happening, and then that's it. And then my other drafts, I have to layer in the emotions. I have to
Yeah.
layer in what's the meaning. And now it's a little bit easier to put that in there. And I think that was because I wasn't really even in tune with my own emotions, right?
Yep.
I was very closed off on, "Oh, you're crying. There. Good, oh,
Yes.
I don't do emotions." Um, and so writing was a place where I could deal with emotions, and I could
Hmm.
put emotions in books, and I could flesh it out. Now, so it's a little bit easier as I write now, and I think about a little bit more. So I remember Forbidden Promises when my editor first gave me my edits back. Every other line, it felt like, how does this feel?
Hmm.
What what does this feel like? And I was like, this hurts. Like, you're making me pull out like how this feels
Yeah.
for the character. But it was good because now as I write, I'm thinking,
How does it feel?
how does this feel? Like, they've said this to this person, and this is a big deal. Like, that's to hear that. And so that's now kind of how I think. And
In a world where shadows dance and secrets lurk, comes an unforgettable saga of broken souls, written by Alishon. Get ready to embark on a gripping journey through time, a dark Southern coming-of-age saga that spans over 30 years. Nothing is as it seems. With every turn of the page, secrets unravel, revealing a web of intrigue that will leave you breathless. Breaking is the easy part. Having the courage to look into the mirror of your souls, allowing yourself to be consecrated, to rise harmoniously in alignment with self and the universe, that's the hard part. Join John and Vivian on this unforgettable journey where shattered souls rise, courage is tested, and destinies are forged. The Broken Souls series by Ella Shawn, a gripping 4-book masterpiece that will keep you captivated till the very end. Don't miss your chance to experience this compelling tale of love, loss, and redemption. Purchase your copy now and be prepared to have your soul shattered. Because sometimes the darkest paths lead to the brightest light. I was younger. My granddad worked on a tobacco farm
mm,
down in Mullins, South Carolina.
mhm,
And when I would go down for the summer when I was a little girl, he'd take me with him sometimes because I begged, "Good daddy, please." He could never say no, right? And so he'd take me, and I have this really strong memory
mhm,
of how big the leaves are.
mhm.
And I thought about, you think about that when you look at a cigarette. It's like, how does a big leaf get
From
into
that
the
little
cigarette,
yeah.
right? Because my mom used to smoke. And I remember the smell.
Hmm.
It was so sweet. And I'm like, why do cigarettes stink so bad? This smells great.
Yeah.
And I'd get sleepy and he would just kind of roll me up in a little leaf or two
Uh,
so that I could go to sleep and stay cool. And I just remember smelling that tobacco and being with my granddad. And I was like, oh my God, this is my memory. And when she shared that with Alex and she took him to that land, her
yeah.
ancestral land, and shared that really sweet, special moment, right, with
Yeah.
him. And I was like, the people who loved her, the people who cared for her, who knew that she was more than enough,
Hmm.
aren't there anymore. And when you don't have that anchor and you don't have like that system that's going to hold you and love you even in spite of and not simply because of, then yeah, I could see like you did such a good job, like a
Thank
great
you.
job,
Thank you. You can
great
get
job
lost. Thank you. Thank you.
making it like, okay, I get it. Like this, we don't have excuses here. What we have is reality and the trauma that this woman has endured without having a soft space to land.
She hasn't had a soft space to land. That was, when I wrote that scene, I wanted to show not just her being vulnerable, but her being strong enough to let somebody else see that and to bring somebody else into that space.
Yeah, because vulnerability is a strength. I
Hmm.
don't paint it as a weakness.
Right.
When you give yourself permission to be vulnerable, that means that you have a strength, right? You've grown in your strength, and that's like,
Yep.
you. Oh man, you did it. High five,
Thank you. Air
air five
five.
across the
Yeah.
Zoom. Like you did amazingly well, and I was like, okay, it helped me so much to not think. At first, I was like, I didn't like her, obviously. But then I like Grant. I was like, oh wait,
Yeah.
he's an asshole, and
Yeah.
I can see why she is like she is, kind of, sort of,
Yeah.
like. But then it's like the more I read the book, a little bit listened to the book on my Kindle when I was working in my
Yep.
new craft room, girl, in my new craft room. Um, and so I was just like, yeah, but her growth arc is beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I don't
That's,
know if Plotter helped you with what is it, Plotter?
I didn't have plotter when I was writing this one, but yeah, it was
Okay, so look at
going
you.
through her journey and making sure I hit the highlights of what are the things that need to happen that shows Elena going from the person on page one to the person at the end.
I would love to see the beats.
Yeah. These are the things that kind of need to happen.
Yeah, you did beautifully. And Alex, oh my God. So of course I'm looking back on the cover, right? Because I'm seeing and I'm
Hmm.
trying to figure this out. Does he really look like you just
I try to give you enough to kind of let you know what it is, but I don't.
yep.
I'm not the writer that says, "Oh, he looked like a young Denzel Washington." No, I don't want to put that in your head because you may
No,
not like a young Denzel Washington. I personally am not a Denzel fangirl. I'm a fan of his acting, but I'm
but
not
not
like a,
his looks. Like I don't know why people act like
yeah,
he's so great looking.
right. So I
Because
never
he
put
yeah,
that in there because I don't want anybody. I might put my yum is your yuck. I don't want to put that in the book. So I
right.
try to give you
Why
enough
yum
to
is your
visual.
yuck?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm making look, these stickers are just for you. Yeah, I think, yeah, you gave me enough. And like I wasn't like bowled over by, oh, he is, broad chest and
Mhm.
perfect this and perfect that. But he I think you made me fall for his personality.
I wanted. She's so hard and can be abrasive that I didn't want to I didn't want two heads butting, right? He had to have his own um he became her safe space earlier. She didn't have that soft place to go to. He became that.
Oh my
One of my
God, girl, you did it.
one of my favorite scenes was she was talking about her parents in the car and he was just like, that was fucked up, you know? And he's like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. She's like, no, no one's ever said that, and
corroborated.
it's true. It's true. It
Yes.
was. And then he hugged her. Like, it wasn't a kiss. It wasn't anything else. It was just the fact that he hugged her, and she
Yeah.
hadn't just been hugged on purpose in such a long time,
Ooh,
kind of thing.
girl, so hugged on purpose.
Yeah, it's, you get the, oh, have perfunctory hug, and that kind of
Yes,
stuff, but it's
but a
different than
purposeful hug.
the and so those were the
Ooh,
things that I wanted to show with him, that no, he's not weak in the fact that he's just gonna let Elena, run all over him, but he also recognizes that there's a reason why she does this stuff, and I don't have to throw throw gasoline on her fire,
yeah, yeah,
kind
because
of
he's
thing.
compassionate, and that
Yes.
I'm there's nothing sexier in a man than compassion,
Yes. He's
and we
very.
don't see that in black male characters. Not sometimes not even in the romance in black romance
Yeah.
books.
Yeah.
Like you don't see where this black man has compassion for the love for his for the love interest.
It's a lot of times in different stories, it can be that he's just a fighter. He wants to protect her and whatnot. And I love an alpha asshole. Sometimes I want to read
Girl,
that.
yes.
That's great. And
Mm-hmm.
especially in a K drama, I fall in love with alpha asshole all the time. But
Okay.
but in real life, I don't want the asshole. In real
No,
life, I want the safe space to go to. And the safe space can still be strong, but when it's my space, when
it's
I just need that
compassion.
safety and
Yeah.
that compassion. Yeah.
Girl, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And the first time they were like sexually together. Can't find it because my life,
Oh yeah, I have to even when that
and
was, but yeah.
I love that. I love that he gave, put her to bed
Yeah.
because like, okay, thank you, sir. Thank you
Yeah.
for that. I appreciate that little oath and see you later.
Yep. Have
Why
a
why'd
have a
you
good
do
night.
that?
Yeah.
Why was that important that he took care of her in that way while not allowing himself to be taken care of?
Well, the book opens with, Elena, having oh, I'm believing in rainbows and fairy tales again, maybe. I'm
Mm-hmm.
reconnecting with my old love, and then
Mm-hmm.
he's a jerk. So you kind of see her not being taken care of
Right.
at the beginning in a relationship that she thought was something different, but actually it was just sex and trying to get something
Just
from
sex.
her.
Yeah.
And so with in this one, it was him realizing what she may need right now, but it's also not all about me. Like, I want to give her something that she needs, but also not push her into doing something that she's not, she doesn't have to do, she's not ready to give, or she's not in the space for, kind of thing. Which
So
again is part of that whole compassion thing of,
he saw what she couldn't even see within herself. Like
yeah,
you need someone to give without the expectation of receiving.
yeah. So
Hmm.
it's Elena in this book, I just wanted her to be taken care of, where some of her needs were put first. Because she always, people think that she's putting her stuff on the first, but it's mostly she's putting the business and the family
Right.
first, and not
Right.
necessarily her
Right. I
and what
think
she
yeah,
needs.
you did
Even with
great.
his family, they were the opposite of her family, in
Mm-hmm.
the warm and welcoming,
Mm-hmm.
in the we want to have you around, we're gonna give
And the
you a hug,
hugging, yes. And
yeah,
she's
and
like,
all
I'm
of that.
not a hugger.
Yeah.
I hate when people come to my house because I'm a hugger. I'm like, I meet you one time, girl. We hugging it out. We are
And
hugging
see,
it out.
I'm Elena. I'm like, oh, I don't automatically hug, so this is gonna be
Okay.
awkward, but okay.
Yeah, that was funny, but I love that. I love Alex for her, and so I'm thanking you for writing him because he was not perfect either,
No.
and
Mm-mm.
that's important. They just your characters, and I hate the word just because it makes it sound like I am like downplaying
No, I know what you
what
mean.
you're doing, but your characters are just so hate the word relatable because your characters feel like my neighbor, like just
Uh,
people I see all the time. Now, granted,
Thank you. That's what I want when I write. Some novels are written to do that. Like they're the thought pieces. Like we're trying to make you feel some deep thing and come to this whatever realization.
right.
That's not my intent. So I'm always surprised and then appreciative when people have those moments because I'm just trying to write a good story and be real and write something that you can relate
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
And so when things I've heard, like it made me think about men in a different way. It made me view my brother-in-law differently, or,
Mm-hmm.
this really made me realize I need to open up. And then, or this part made me cry or whatnot. It always, I'm like, oh, wow, thank you so much for letting me give that to you. That was not my intent. And I
Mm-hmm.
just am amazed that that happens with
Which
readers.
brings me back to the medical definition of the word intentions,
Mm.
the healing process of a wound. And I am 1,000% convinced that whether or not we are trying to, whether or not it is a plot situation, right? We're writing this into our plot. There's something about reading Black women writers' work that is always healing. There's something that loosened up a little bit
Yeah.
after reading this. And so that's why it's again important to hear the story behind the stories, to hear all of it and put it out there. So I am so happy that we got to discuss
Thank y'all. Me
Careless
too.
Whispers. I'm so glad that I had a chance to discover Miss Synithia Williams. We are going to take a little break, pay some bills, and then I'm going to come back to the segment for the audacity of Black women writers. Okay, we're back. Synithia Williams, romance author, 25,000 books.
25, just 25.
25, yeah, 25 books. And we're moving into the next segment of the audacity of Black women writers to thrive in an industry that is completely hell bent on staying white centered. And I know, why I don't understand. But yes, so that's what this segment is about. How is it that you um, have had such a successful career in the publishing industry, and when it is like so far white that we can't even like see it going anywhere else? And even though they have DEI initiatives, like they did it in the 70s, they had a good push in the late 90s, early 2000s. And of course, post George Floyd, they are now on their little DEI push yet again. And so, how do you have longevity? How do you maneuver and move within this system? I want all the deets. Because again,
uh, there's no magic wand, and successful, I appreciate that, but then there's other people who I consider way more successful than me as Black writers, and I think all of us end up having those moments of frustration because when like some white readers don't want to read our books. They see it and they're like, Black person, I don't know if I can relate to that. I don't know if I can get into that story. We don't get the same push publicity wise as some of the other books right now. Bookstores are nothing but what's hot on TikTok, and that's like the same people over and over again. And that's not to hate on those writers, but it just is what it is. It's just easier to go with what they know is already sold because there's a risk that we won't. I did not believe there was a place for my stories when I first started. I now know
mhm.
that there is. And so I think I wish I would have followed that from the start. So I kind of just approached my career as well, let's see what happens. And I've just been very fortunate. I do not have the horror story of an editor telling me to make somebody white. I don't have the horror story of somebody telling me I need to write something different. The closest that horror story is my first agent. We just did not jive. I don't think she liked my heroines very much. But even that, we ended and I just pivoted. So I think is being willing to pivot. I
Mhm.
also think, from my perspective, right, I've always worked in white spaces.
Mhm.
When I did environmental stuff, there was not a lot of other Black women in the
Nope.
environmental sectors that I was
Still
in.
not. Still
Still
not.
not. The work that I do, I was just at a work conference for a day job. There's like a handful of us Black
Mhm.
women in these positions. Um, so I worked a lot in white spaces. So I don't take the inherent foolishness of being in white spaces personally, right? Because it is what it is. And if I sit and worry too much about um how they're not treating me fairly, then I'm not going to focus on writing my next book.
Right.
And so that's how I've kind of thrived. RWA, the Romance Writers of America, was not a perfect organization, but I took advantage of what I could get from RWA, which is the
Okay.
same thing I do in my day job. And I think that's the space net may not be developed for me, but I'm sure it's hell gonna take advantage of what I can get out of that space while I'm there.
Oh my God. Okay.
And that's what I did. I went to workshops and I took what I needed from the workshops. I entered contests and I took what I needed from the contests.
Yeah.
Um, I I found I wrote the stories I wanted. I didn't think anybody was gonna buy Forbidden Promises, the first book in Jackson Falls. I'm like, it's a Black Dallas and she's falling in love with her sister ex-husband. Ain't nobody gonna write. And it's Black people. They ain't gonna do this.
Right.
A white woman can write this all day long, but they ain't gonna take my book. But I'm gonna write it anyway. And I had a good writer friend, Cericia Glass. We were walking on the beach at one of our retreats, and no, I'm talking to Katie on the beach, and then later Cericia, I was saying, I can't think of anything that the publishers want, that's high level, whatever. And I told her my Black Dallas story. She's like, bitch, that is high level. Stop.
I love
Don't
that.
limit
Do it again.
yourself. Right?
Bitch, that is high level. You
Right.
want that? You want that on the sticker?
Right. It's true. It's like,
Okay.
and so, and that's the other good thing about, I should say, surviving in it is finding the people who will support you. Because I could have easily said, nobody wants this Black story. I can't think of anything high level. And somebody
Mhm.
else could have told me, girl, you right. They don't want your Black story.
Because it's low level. All the Black stories always
Right.
low.
Right. They don't want that. That ain't good. Ew, don't do that. Change it. You need to make it more white. I could have had somebody who did
Girl,
that to me, but I
yes.
didn't. I had somebody else push me to say, no, that is, do it. Do it anyway. And I sold it. And so I think that's the only way you can thrive. It's gonna suck. You are going to have an editor leave. You may have the line closed down. You may not sell the book that you want to sell, but it's realizing that you can't take the subjective nature of this industry personally
Yeah.
and take what you can from those white spaces and use it to your advantage. Don't say I don't say I don't belong here. It's what I tell my boys. If you are there, you were invited for a reason.
Hmm.
So if my publisher invites me to a thing, I was there for a reason. I don't care if I'm the only one. Or if they decided to publish my book, they published it for a reason. If it's because they want to have a Black quota, get more Black people, if it, guess what? I don't care. I'm about to take advantage of all the stuff I can get from being the Black
Exactly.
person over there. Because if I take advantage of it, I will do well, and hopefully that will open the door for the next Black person that's coming behind me. Um, and I will never tout and say I'm the only, I'm the main one or anything like that. But I will say if you are there, take what you can from it, use it to your advantage, and hopefully pave the way for the next person to be able to do the same.
Like, and if you're going to go into the publishing industry, you have to have your team, your group.
You do. You have to. It's hard enough out here. The writer, like Yasmin, I know she's been on your podcast, that, we ended up, just because I found her, she was in Colombia. She like tagged me on Twitter one day, and we just started talking, and it's worked out because it's so hard out here. You're sitting down, you're writing the story, and there are so many people who want to tear you down, Black and white. So there's people who will try to tear it down, and those are not the people that you bring into your writer circle, right? You say, no, it's not, but give it a try, and maybe you'll like it. But that's what I think it takes to strive. You cannot take it personal. It's gonna suck. You're gonna be mad. You're gonna hear the stuff. I remember some review that came through, and maybe it's because it's Southern and Black, and I just couldn't get into it. You know what? Well, then you just couldn't get into it. And it pisses me off, but I will never change that one
Hmm.
white reviewer's mind. So why am I going to focus on that white reviewer? And I'm just going to find the people who do like my stories
And
and
cater to them.
try to keep giving them the stories that they like. Yeah, I'll admit, my book that comes out in August, a part of me is like, what if it sucks and everybody hates it? Well, guess what? What if it doesn't and it's fine? But even if it does suck and everybody hates it, I will find the next story to write and I'll
Yeah.
find the next person. And yeah, it may suck. I'm gonna drink some wine, eat some chocolate, cry on my husband's shoulder, get into I will not get on Twitter and TikTok, but I'll go into the group chat and say, this is some bullshit,
Yes.
but
Yes.
I'll do all of that. But then I will, right, dust myself off and what's my next thing?
Right. Right. So that resiliency is something that I think is imperative.
Yeah. Know who you can vent to. um and know what needs to be vented in the group chat or even in person because their
Yeah.
screenshots exist.
Okay. People
Yeah.
will keep receipts. So I think that goes back to surround yourself with the right people in your writing circle. And
Mhm.
that's the hard part, I think, because writing is such a solitary thing in the first place,
Yeah, which is
right?
I was like I went to writer groups again. Like I said, RWA had their problems, but the local chapters I found people locally. I did other writing groups. I did online stuff. I went to writers conferences. It kind of helped me try to find, and people came in and out of my life over my career. Everybody wasn't, I won't say like a wrong fit, but they just came in and out, just depending on
Yeah.
where it was in my career until I finally found the right click and niche to where I realized even over the pandemic, like I'm Zooming with them once a week with
Right.
different people and I'm talking to them and we're chatting about other stuff. So it takes time sometimes to find it. But when you find the people who support you and will tell you the truth and be honest with you, then those are the people that you stick with.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. Okay. I love that. You have given a lot of good advice to me. Thank you very much.
You're
Like
welcome.
for real, for real. And to other aspiring writers who will be listening to this. I will definitely make this a soundbite.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is, I mean, it's good stuff. Again, I don't think people know what they know until they're asked what they know.
Well, yeah, I agree with that because people ask me for advice. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I feel like I just kind of got here, but part of my healing is realizing that some of this is the hard work I put in and the lessons that I've learned, and it's not just a fluke. So let me acknowledge that too.
Amen, sister. Look, I'm sorry. It's late. My medication's wearing off. Okay. And so we have to play the game. You remember the game?
Yeah, I tried to not tried. I did reread the instructions beforehand, but we
Okay.
chatted so much, you might have to remind me.
Okay.
Say a word, and then I'm supposed to come up with like
An
a sentence.
anecdotal story, like real quick, a personal anecdotal story. And it will fall under hashtag bookish, hashtag writing while black, or hashtag um writer's life.
Writer's life, writing while black, or bookish. Okay.
Yes. And all of the words they'll come from the letter story. So it's time to tell the whole story, Synithia. Let's get started.
Okay.
Your first word is sexy.
Um, Sexy, messy, emotional. I came up with that um tagline for my books when I sat through a virtual writers workshop and they were talking about branding and narrowing down the type of stories you write to 3 words.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I look back over my backlist and everything that I put together, I realized that words that kept coming up were things like sexy, messy, and and I felt like they were emotional. So I do think I don't write erotica, but I think I do write sexy stories. And so
Yeah, your stories are sexy. And I think a lot of people equate sex with like, bow chicka bow wow, the same thing.
yeah,
Sex and erotica are like synonymous for a lot of people,
a
which is
lot of
so
people.
ridiculous because erotica has nothing to do with sex unless you want it to.
Right.
Um, I mean, but that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, your writing is very sexy because I mean I okay. You know why it's sexy.
Okay.
Let's just And what hashtag are we going on here?
Writer's life.
Writer's life. Your next word is trustworthy.
Trustworthy. Um, so trustworthy would probably be like the group of writer friends that I have.
Hmm.
We originally called ourselves the Destined Divas, even
The
though our
what?
next Destined Divas, because
Okay, I
we
thought you said Dusty Divas. I was
no,
like,
not Dusty.
what do you?
We our first retreat was in Destin, Florida.
Okay.
And then we're not going to be in Destin this year, but after the pandemic or whatnot. But trustworthy was we realized when we came together, we were being honest with each other, the good, the bad, the ugly in publishing, and there
Hmm.
had to be trust with that. And so everybody was a little hesitant, but now 6, 7 years later, we've realized that everybody in that group, and we've narrowed it down to such a tight group that we know everybody in there is trustworthy, which makes it a lot easier when I talked about having that tribe, that group of being able to say what I really feel and them being able to say what they really feel and knowing that I can trust them
Yeah.
with that feeling, which makes it so great when you're in this book life, this book world, and you may not have a place to
Hmm.
um go to. So that's my anecdotal story. And I guess that would be under writer's life again. Hashtag writer's life.
Sure. Or writing while black.
Writing while black. That's better. Yes.
Yes. I look, I'm just sitting here and I'm going to definitely, I'm like writing down what am I going to write on my this is what I desire board. That
Yeah.
that's what I desire because that's so important. I love that. Your next word is other.
Other. Um, so I go back to my first RWA conference in New York, and I didn't have the Destin Divas group, and I was still trying to meet up with everybody. And I remember sitting at a table by my with I was the only black lady at the table because I'm used to being othered at conferences, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so I've learned to be like, I don't care. I'm just gonna go sit at the table, whatever. Um, and the lady came up and she's like, "Hey, who are you?" Blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Synithia Williams from South Carolina." She's like, "Oh, I can tell by your accent." And she was kind of catty and bitchy. Um,
You don't even think that.
well,
It's all that time.
every time I go to New York, somebody asks me where I'm from, because I guess I sound really Southern when I'm not in a Southern place. I don't know.
Okay.
But so I say that because I could have let that ruin that conference and I could have let that ruin that occasion, but it did not. I had a great conversation with the other ladies at the table. Um, and then I still, like I said, got what I needed from the conference and
Mm-hmm.
met up with other great people. So don't let the fear of people trying to other you
Oh, wow.
push you out of spaces because you belong there. You paid the same money they paid to be at this conference, or you were invited to be at this workshop or wherever it is. So, and people will try to other you and make you feel like you're not supposed to be there, but don't fall into that. Don't let that, yeah, that's a bitchy thing to do, but don't let that ruin you. Don't let that ruin the event because you deserve to be there too. And that's what I took from that. And now I'm just used to being like, yeah, whatever, heifer, and just go on with my day and talk to other
Whatever,
females.
Heffa.
Hash,
Whatever.
hashtag writing while black. There you go.
Okay. Whatever, Heffa. That's
Yeah.
another sticker for you. Your sticker pack is going to be great.
Oh, put those all over my laptop covered with stickers.
Yeah, I really, because I'm like, this is yours. I'm not going to put these for sale because these are your sayings. But yeah, I mean, unless you let me, not the,
Yeah, I think
but
none
not
of them are
the,
copyrighted. I don't think I
but
just
not the messy, not the sexy, messy, emotional, because that's your tagline.
that's my
But
tagline. Everything else is just stuff that's popped out of my head.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm having such a good time talking to you. I know I got to let you go, which I'm kind of sad about. Oh, dag nabbit. Okay, we're on R. Um, reality check.
Reality check. When Hermione Romance closed, it was a
Hmm.
reality check because it was the only blind, blind, the only line dedicated for Black stories at Harlequin at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hard for Black authors to go to the other lines at Harlequin. So when Kamani closed, it was very scary because it was a reality check that these publishers will do whatever they want to do. And it's the
Yeah.
fear of, do they even want Black stories anymore? where is it gonna happen? You can try another line, they may not want you. Those reality checks will come when you're writing, especially in the traditional market. Also, reality check that some people don't want to read my stories because they're traditionally published. They only trust indie Black romance. That's a reality check for whatever reason there is, but it's me saying that um, I write the stories that I write because I like them, and I think I write stories that are resonant to the people who read them. And so if they shut down the line, if they say we don't want to touch it because it's traditionally published, if they say that, it's too Black or not Black enough,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna get those. That's reality. You
Yeah.
will never be everything for all people.
Oh, your last one, and I'm doing this especially for you.
Hmm.
Yuck and yum,
Yuck
because I
and
love it.
yum. Yuck. I do not like young adult romance at all. It's my yuck. I don't have a personal issue with teenagers. I just hate reading them in books. The decisions they make, the stuff they do, is a yuck. Um, so I might read it, but I'm gonna probably complain halfway through the book.
Yes. Okay. Fair
Yum,
enough.
Yum is sci-fi, space stuff,
Oh, yes.
people, magic.
Yes.
Somebody give me a Black wizard and I will give you all my money.
Oh
Uh,
my. Oh my. So
I
you're a
want that.
fantasy sci-fi like
I am. I just finished a sci-fi. It was a new adult. They were 20. They weren't teenagers. Fourth Wing. Oh my God. Loved it. But not necessarily not a Black um fantasy, but that's why I need somebody to give me a Black wizard. But that's my yum. I love it. I will eat that crap like candy and just be lost in magic. But yum, yay, give me the fantasy all day long. Hashtag book life.
I
Or
love it.
bookish. Yeah.
I love it. You did great. No, but you did great. I really enjoyed your anecdotal stories. And
Thank
most
you.
of them were followed up with, and this is how it's going to be advice. I just absolutely you gave me like a million sound bites. So thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Ah, Synithia, I don't want to let you go.
I know Ella will definitely have to invite me back one day again, and let's definitely try to, Panera hook up when our
Yeah,
schedules settle down or
yeah.
whatnot. But this has been really fun. Thank you.
Yeah, so much fun. Well, okay, I'm not a licensed therapist. However, um, I am unlicensed and you've been on my virtual couch, and I would be remiss if I let you leave the session without giving you homework.
All right.
So your homework is to tell me um who's the next Black woman writer I need to have on this virtual therapy couch.
Oh gosh, that could be almost all of the Destined Divas. I think one I mentioned was Sharice Hodges. I still can't believe I'm friends with her because she was the writer I looked up to when I first started writing. Um, and then Kiana Alexander, who's writing. Currently, she has a Black lesbian series out, which is doing really well. And she's a Carolina writer. She's in North Carolina. So
Okay.
there's so many out there. Historical fiction, you've got Piper Hughley and
I've got
Vanessa.
Piper already.
Yes, yes.
And I was like, oh my God, like what in the world?
Prepare. That's
Yeah,
gonna be great. Piper is great.
she
And
looks
she's
great.
funny.
She looked like, and that's the thing. Like I'm just like looking at her stuff, and I'm like, she looks like she's here for a good time. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Just
she's
vibes.
great.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
do love Piper. Yeah. So yeah, she's one of the Destiny Divas too. So yeah,
Is she really?
yes.
Okay. So wait, who else did you say? I got Sharice. I have
Kiana
Kiana
Alexander,
Alexander.
Piper, Vanessa Riley writes
I got
historical fiction.
Vanessa Riley. Her
Yes.
publisher, yeah, reached out to me. I thought that was insane.
Yeah. Farrah Rashan is great. Um, I know I'm gonna forget names. Sharon C. Cooper. She's a great she's indie and traditional published. Sharon is so smart. She knows so much stuff about publishing. I'll text her and just ask her random questions sometimes. So she's a good one too.
Okay, well, make sure you tell all these people that they're going to be hearing from me, and they're going to receive invitations to the Black Writer Therapy podcast, and probably for season 2. And my last question for you is, would you be willing to come back and do a group therapy session with some of the other Black women writers that I've had on season 1's?
Yes, I would be willing to do that. So
Yeah.
definitely reach out and let me know.
Yay. That's awesome. Okay. Well, I'm going to say, I can't end yet, because you need to tell the listeners how to get in touch with you, or what you're working on next, anything you want them to know.
Definitely, they can follow me on my website, synithiawilliams.com. I am most active on, I used to be really active on Twitter, but not as much, but everywhere, Twitter and Instagram, I'm at Synithia W, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
Okay.
My TikTok is mostly K-pop, K-drama, and just random foolishness. So if you like that, book stuff is sprinkled in. I'm on Facebook at Synithia R. Williams, and my next book, The Secret to a Southern Wedding, comes out August of this year. It's another sexy, messy Southern book. It's about a woman who finds out her mother is engaged after her mom vowed off men when her dad's mistress tried to kill her previously. She's coming to stop the wedding, only to fall for her potential father-in-law's son. So, yeah, that's a lot, but that's what will be out this summer. So if you're looking for some more sexy, messy foolishness,
for real messy. Like, that is some messy Southern stuff right there.
then check that out.
Thank you so much. Look, I have to look at you this time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Coming. It's been real. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Same to you. All right.
All right. Great meeting you.
Good meeting you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining me for this session of Black Writer Therapy. Be sure to follow and leave a review wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And keep the conversations going on Instagram using our hashtag Black Writer Therapy. I'm your host and unlicensed therapist, Ella Shawn, reminding you to be kindest to yourself first, always and in all ways. See you guys next week. Bye.